Welcome everyone to the Wednesday night pre-recorded segment of the Outer Realm. Note the words pre-recorded as our guests are from the other side of the pond, and we thought we would do something a little bit easier. This is us kind of like taking it easy on them. Not that it's going to go that way for us tonight. Anyway, we are broadcasting via International Public Radio here on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee, who have been with us from day one. Thank you, Folgers. Would not be the same without you. We also want to thank Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music. He is an award-winning, just to say again, award-winning composer, and he generously offers his voice and his music for our intro and our outro. He can be found on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and most streaming platforms. So tonight we've got Carl Cookson and Hamilton White from Lost Relic Hunters, who are going to be turning the tables on us a little bit. So we're not quite sure how that's going to go.
That's why I'm sweating.
It should be good. Should be good. But please note that because it is pre-recorded, we are not going to have all the multiple chats up. So we will be in chat this evening. Amelia and I for sure can't speak for the guys. You will find us on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on YouTube and on the Outer Realm Facebook page as the show is streaming. At that point, we will be able to address any questions. Here we go, I think. So how's it going, guys? How are you?
Oh, good. Yeah, great. Good to be back.
Good, good. And it's not dark out in 2 a.m. for you.
Well, we've turned the tables on you this time, haven't we? Because we're normally having to stay awake till 4 a.m. And now you're kind of out your time zone and we're in our time.
Well, it's daytime here, so it's
totally taken over our time.
This is what you can really see the mess behind me because I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so fantastic. And Hamilton, why do you look like you're just pondering?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It's like being circled by a shark, lady.
Seriously,
really,
I'm gonna need this.
That's kind of an interesting way of putting it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Well, we sort of just thought we'd have a bit of fun this time.
You don't have fun any other time? Should I be taking that personally?
Wait. Let's get that clear. Fun for whom?
Probably not you.
I didn't think so either.
No. I was going to say we're fun. What the hell? Yep. We're fun.
Okay. Are we going to do the question and answers first, or do you want to sort of have a general sort of bit of jolly banter?
He's directing and producing as well.
I am taking over.
It's not for the lack of trying to get like things that you want addressed. Try to do this in advance.
I actually wanted to just start it off with one simple question because it's pivotal for me how your psychology developed after you've answered this. And the question is, and you can both answer it separately, Adam's family or the Munsters?
Munsters, yes.
Oh,
her house looks like the Munsters house.
Her house looks like the Munsters. Her house looks like Haunted Mansion from Disney, because it's much more beautiful than the Munsters. I'd have to say Adam's family because I'm so cut the roses by the heads off.
You like
say that again?
It's a nice blend.
I'm one of those people that will cut the heads off the roses. It pisses me off. So I'd have to say the Addams family. And I think it's also because Gomez is so romantic. Is that weird? So yeah, I'd have to say because he's so romantic. He's so into her. And that's just not real.
It's just kind of like a blend of everything. I mean, people have always, for ages have called me like Morticia. I'm just like, well, but I've always related to the Munsters. I've just always found them so interesting.
Yeah, she interviewed Eddie.
I did.
Have you ever done a dinner party with a kind of Munsters or Addams family kind of recipe theme going on?
Right. That would be my ringtone.
That would be every night at dinner. No. I'm complete opposite. I'm the complete opposite of that. I don't know. I'm very Martha Stewart weird nerd in the kitchen and in the house, and then here is just a different life.
I'm just like
So-
this all the time.
Yeah, you can do that. I have a daughter that would just fight me on it to no end. So
I
Yeah.
had 3 who were just like all for it.
yeah,
So
I
was
have
lucky.
the total opposite.
The ex-husband,
total
on the other hand,
opposite.
was kind of like, this is very strange.
Yeah,
This
this is the
Yeah.
weirdest room in my house, which is my office, and this is the only place I'm allowed to be like this. The rest of my house is more contemporary in the way she likes it. So, I'm just waiting
I
for her to
don't
pay
do
the taxes.
contemporary, actually.
I'm waiting for her to pay the taxes.
Yeah. So that question's out of the way. Next.
There you go. Next.
That was easy enough.
Yeah,
Something
Being
tells me
hurt.
they're starting off that way.
I
Yeah.
we're just being kind to you, really. But if you had to have a dinner party, and you could invite, say, 3 guests, dead or alive, from the past or now, who would you invite to your dinner party and why?
All dead. And I've done it.
Go on.
All dead.
You asked.
Nikola Tesla. I think I would like Vlad
Yeah,
Dracula.
that's good.
Nikola Tesla, Vlad Dracula, because I think he was just like totally, bastardized in history. You go to Romania, he's revered as a hero. I think I'd like some of the inside scoop. I'd like to, and again, not like I haven't talked to him. And I would say Ramsey's a great for me is a big one. How did he manage 60 freaking years on the throne with 100 females? I just gotta know, So, but I mean, there's a whole bunch of people I would love to talk to, but it's just the list can go on, but you only give me an option of 3.
It's a good list. What about you, Millie?
That is a good question, and I probably could answer that with 100 people. Of course, my loved ones, but not being my loved ones, I would have to say it would be Joan of Arc for one. Believe this or not, Anne Boleyn. Don't ask. And of all the weirdest things, and I know that a lot of people will be surprised to hear me say this that don't know me, because those of you that know me know my love for her and how misinterpreted she is by society and pop culture is Marilyn Monroe. I would love to have a serious conversation with her because I've read her letters and her books, and she was so misunderstood.
And they all had a
Believe it or not,
tragic.
just very simple pop culture. Pardon?
They all had a tragic ending.
They do, but Joan of Arc I can relate to because she heard voices and I was going crazy as a child. Anne Boleyn, I know that there's a lot of bullshit to that story.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, really weird. I know.
Maybe next time
Then
you
if you
just give
ask
us a
me in an
longer list.
hour, if you ask me in an hour, it could be like completely different, but that's what comes to mind right now.
Okay. And what about a dinner party with your worst, the last 3 people in the world you'd want to join?
Well, one of them
Brilliant.
lives in the house.
Apart from him having-
Are we still on the dead or alive thing?
One of them lives here. It's not the dog. The worst. I'm gonna let Michelle take that one.
Sure.
Our list longer than the ones of the
Again, dead or
best.
alive. I think living people, I've, past business associate because just because,
That's another show.
I don't really I won't want to sound cruel, but I'm not a people person to start with. Having people to my home is very like, if I don't like you, you'll never get within a mile of me. So let alone get anywhere near the house. But it's just, there's no real specific person to choose because I don't not like somebody that much.
You do. Come on.
A good question is, what are you serving them?
What am I serving? Arsenic? I don't know. Kidding.
I don't think I can make a bad meal.
No, you
Myself on the
couldn't.
back. Thank you. For me, wow. Now these are going to sound really crazy because I still do work in crime, and I've studied a lot of serial killers. And one who never picked up a knife but managed to kill a ton of people would be Charles Manson.
So we're talking
Okay.
dead people. Nobody specified.
I'm talking dead people. I don't have any live people that I don't like would never be invited into my home.
Mm.
Charles Manson, I would love to spend hours trying to figure that that psycho out. Also, my God, people that have passed. There's so many. See, for me, they're all serial killers. That's terrible, right?
You got Bundy.
For
Is it Ted Bundy? you've
Ted
got?
Bundy, I understand his psychology very
Yeah.
well. I'd have no interest in his charms at my table. They wouldn't
Okay.
work on me. I find him actually, maybe he'll come and haunt me. I find him very pathetic as a serial killer. I think John Wayne Gacy would be one of those that I'd love to sit across.
I
And
don't like clowns.
yeah,
That
see,
would
they
not
don't
work for
bother me at all, but I'm also a doll collector, so it doesn't matter. But
This is
and
true.
also for me, it would have to be again another female, Lizzie Borden. I'd like her to be able to tell her story, which I've actually had a conversation with her in her own home. So that I know I would love to extend an invitation and sit and talk with her even more, because I did have the opportunity to go through her home, tour it, and communicate with her while I was there. They gave me that opportunity, so I was very fortunate. But yeah, but see, that's a tough. Those lists are long.
Good. And what's the when you was a kid, you know, we all have a horror movie that affected us or influenced us the most. What was your horror movie that really shook you up and made you think, "Oh, scary world out there"?
Jaws.
I was never scared by horror movies,
wasn't a horror
but Dracula is what started it for me.
Yeah.
I was never, I do not fear very easily. I can be startled, but I do not fear. But Dracula was the first book I ever read. It's the first real movie I've ever watched. And it just led to the allure of knowing that there was something else out there. Not necessarily, because even now I don't necessarily, I do sort of lean to the fact that with every bit of folklore, there's a little bit of truth. You know, could they just be interdimensional beings? You know, could they be like, there's something more to it. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it set me on my way to intrigue, shall we say, into otherworldly things.
And that's a classic. Like the one that you're choosing is a classic. For me, and Michelle's well aware of this one because it is a true story, would have to be The Entity. This woman was actually tormented by demons and raped by them, and there's actual footage
Incubus.
of an by an incubus, but a team. And there's actual footage that was documented at the Pennsylvania State University in this film. And the torment still lives with her today, and she's had to move and it follows her. And I think that would be, because I'm not easily frightened as well. I think it's just something when you're gifted this way, you don't have that kind of, I don't know. I'm startled easily. You could say boo behind me and I'll jump 10 feet in the air. I startle very easily, but fear, no. And I think that instilled fear in me because I didn't realize when I saw that film, I was probably about 17, 18 years old when I saw that movie, maybe younger. And it scared me that something could harm you like that you couldn't see. You were always taught to beware of walking alone. And I grew up in a neighborhood that was very dangerous. You know, I had to go through metal detectors at school. I was used to being street savvy, but how do you protect yourself from a spirit or demonic entity that's raping you in front of your children? That was the scariest thing. And I had see, for me, it's a tie. And then it's the documentary, not the film, but the documentary on the haunting in Connecticut. The actual documentary scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was films. I mean, I loved all the Dracula and those kinds of films, and The Werewolf Man and Frankenstein. But the one film that shakes me to the core is Baby Jane with Betty Davis.
Well, that's a whole other sort of macabre feel to it.
Well, it is, isn't it? You know,
it is. That
stuck with me, and I actually hated Betty Davis from that day.
I know.
She's just such a brilliant actress, and
she was. Yeah,
she owned the part
because it's a mental thing,
she's
right?
She's the great aunt of a dear friend of mine.
Really, she's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a whole mental thing behind that, which really put you on the edge of your seat. It was a really good production.
Hamilton?
What about me?
Yes.
The only film I can remember from growing up as a kid was Jaws, which absolutely freaked me out. And being taken to see it as, like, I think about a 7 or 8 year old kid in the cinema, in the cinema, it's not so bad, but I had a slightly odd father, shall we say, and I couldn't swim at the time, and we went on holiday to, I think it was Spain, I don't know, the same year, and his idea of teaching me to swim was throwing me out of my depth in the sea and then shouting that the shark was going to eat me.
Nice.
Yep,
Oh.
that wasn't good. That wasn't good.
No.
I mean,
Did you learn to swim?
well, no, what it did was teach me to get out of the water, because I practically sprinted across the surface of the water, not only swim.
Aw, poor
I
little
don't think-
Hamilton.
I don't think I stopped running until I was actually back at the hotel.
Oh,
And I don't think I actually went in the ocean until I was about 27 or 28.
That's
So,
so
that's
sad.
terrible.
That's
Yeah,
so sad.
I saw Jaws when I was in
Brilliant.
California.
That just
Yeah,
made me
it's
want to go in a
Colossal.
cage and
It's massive.
swim with them.
It's
Well,
funny because I think that film has probably done more damage to sharks.
It's
Any
it's
movie.
really damaged a lot of people, but then you have psychos like me who just want to get in a cage with the sharks after that, right? It could go either way, but I can understand being that young how afraid you were.
yeah, well, there's like a 7, 8-year-old kid who actually kind of jumped in the wardrobe in the hotel. That's not brilliant parenting skills, is it, really?
No,
If you think about
it's a little
it.
questionable. Just a little
Not
questionable.
fantastic.
When we were filming in Istanbul, the guy that was our fixer, he was quite a cool bloke, and he was telling us that when the film came out, Midnight Express, the damage that done to tourism in Istanbul was just incalculable.
Wow.
And even to this day, people still think it's extremely dangerous and really dark place to go. And I mean, that's the sort of power a movie can actually have on people's lives. It's incredible, isn't it?
It's sad.
Definitely.
It's sad. It affects, I think a lot of families took their children to see that film, so it affected so many psychologically with fears of water and phobias.
Yeah.
I believe that as well. It's and it's funny because it's not a horror, it's actually a thriller, but yet it's one of the top 5 horror films watched. It's in that list.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's considered a thriller. It's not really a horror. There's no demonic entity behind the great white shark. So
Some of the films when we were kids, the black and white ones, were comical though, and they were supposed to be horror movies. There was one called The Blob. I don't know whether you remember.
I do remember that show, sadly.
I never saw it.
Oh my gosh,
I never
yes.
saw it, but I do. I mean, I've seen bits and clips of
Back
of
to
Yeah.
the old
Yeah.
B movies.
Fantastic. And then there was the Body Snatchers, which I think is fantastic.
Never
That
saw
actually- I
that
love,
either.
Like that, I think had Donald Sutherland in it, and did it not? It was one of
Well,
those.
there was an original black and white version of it, and the only way I think you could tell them, I know that was another. There was one series where the little finger was smaller, and you could tell they'd gone into a pod and been transformed from a human into a chrysalis into an alien.
That's a great way
I
to
remember it.
cause pandemonium across the world with aliens.
Yeah,
That was a great way for Hollywood to do that.
You're gone, Carl. Don't
Carl's
see
gone.
me.
somebody's just rang into me and it just.
There we are. Okay. All right. Next, shoot.
There's more.
Go on. Ask your
Are we
question,
only giving them 15 minutes? Come on. Okay.
Go
Are we
on.
ready? Can I let launch on these two ladies?
Yeah, go for it.
It's not nice the way you put that, though. Like
Okay. Well, I like always try and think a little bit outside the box is what I try and do.
No, I don't believe it.
Yeah, and I've had an absolutely inspired idea, and that Carl is included in this, and I've just thought we're going to have the Outer Realms first international quiz. How do you feel about that?
Oh, just like a pub. Just
Where's
like a
my
pub.
wine?
I used
Like
to
a
play
pub
pub
quiz, yeah.
for friends. Yes. Okay. I used to
All
have
right.
a friend who owns a pub in Cornwall, and I used to write them out for him.
Yeah. The same
Nice.
sort of thing.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Carl, are you happy to participate, Carl? Because you're included in this.
I'll go along with it. Yeah, it looks like
Brilliant. Okay. Well, this is the first time I've like presented anything. I've only ever been a guest before, so if I kind of get a bit wobbly, you'll just have to bear with me. But what I thought is that it would be fantastic to, rather than being a sort of personal thing where you ask awkward questions, we have a more like general knowledgey sort of thing. So, representing England, we have Mr. Carl Cookson. Can you wave at the crowd, please? Cool.
I'm
Now-
drinking. I have the wrong beverage for this. Just saying.
Excellent. Now,
Okay.
representing the United States of America from, I believe, New York is the glamorous Amelia. Can you wave?
No, it's New Orleans, and we're in Canada, though.
Oh, sorry.
Flag.
Oh, I got it a bit wrong. Okay, well,
Oh,
Right there, right there.
A bit of a
right,
wrench in there.
moving on from that, I thought that Michelle was in a place called Canada, which for people like me who really don't
Continent.
understand geography, apparently Canada is somewhere near America and it's a place run by a lunatic. So
I will do
Both
my
are.
best.
But yeah.
and what I thought, I've put some effort into this. This isn't something I've just spent 30 seconds on. Now, as the ladies have pointed out, Folgers, who are the sponsors that we're grateful for, although me and Carl haven't had a pot of coffee or a t-shirt or a mug or anything, we're grateful for them. So the quiz that I've put together for you three is going to be your knowledge of the Folgers Coffee
I
Company.
have very little.
Okay.
Except
Are
for
you
the fact that
trying-
I love them.
Are you
I
trying to
drink
get
it.
Are you trying to get Folgers to renege?
Yeah, what exactly are you trying to do, Hamilton?
We're delivering the optimum publicity, really. So are you
Okay.
ready? Now, this is going to be a quick fire quiz. And what I'd like all three of you to do is, whoever knows the answer, shout it out, and I'm going to score it on my piece of paper here. You ready?
I don't even have my phone. I can't even Google.
No, Google, no.
That
What?
I'm just gonna wave a white flag now. 'Cause we don't even have Folgers in Canada. So
Oh heck, right. Well, let's start with a simple question that Amelia, you've already touched on. Actually, you might know the answer to this, but if the others know it, shout out first. Right. Are we ready? Question
Yes.
number one.
yes.
Okay. Legendary psychopath Charles Manson is connected in what way to Folgers Coffee?
That I don't
Abigail
know.
Folgers.
Oh,
Correct.
Abigail
Murders,
Folgers.
Abigail
Oh
Folgers.
my God. Didn't even connect the two.
Mhm.
Correct. Do you want to elaborate on that, Michelle? Or
Do I get a
should,
prize if I do? She was at the home of Sharon Tate when the murders took place, and she was one of the 5 people that were murdered there. And she's the
Absolutely
heiress to the
correct.
Folgers.
She was
She
a
was the
guest.
heiress to the Folgers
Yep.
conglomerate, I guess.
Spot on. Well done, Michelle. That's
Thank you. Where's my
Oh,
one
prize?
basket.
Thank
No, no,
God,
no.
one of us.
We got a few more to go yet. Yeah, stop. Brilliant. Okay. Something a little bit more basic. The green can that Folgers do their decaffeinated coffee in. You're familiar with that?
We don't have it here in Canada.
We don't have it in
unfortunately.
Canada.
Oh
No.
heck. Oh heck. Well, right. Well,
But we
Oh
love them
my-
a lot. So maybe they could send us a green can.
They could
Okay.
send us a green can. I only have the red one that I used to bake
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I had to get that in
I'd
the
like the
state.
1850 brand. I wouldn't mind trying that. Do that
we'll
much, I
take
know.
anything we've got. Right. Well,
Yeah.
can anybody out there tell me what year was the green can of decaffeinated coffee introduced?
Oh my God, we're gonna
I
sink.
don't know. I
I'll
don't know.
guess it's late because the green thing's quite new, isn't it? And the decaffeination world's quite new. So, but knowing like American progressive companies, they're ahead of the game. So I'd say the 70s, late 70s.
I'm gonna go with the 80s.
The vintage.
Michelle, what's your guess?
Well, decaf coffee was, I think, really big when it came on board. What was it like? I think I remember other companies coming in around the mid to late 60s into the mid to late
I wasn't
70s.
born then, so
Okay, well, I tell you what, we'll split that because it was 1970. So I think that's a point to Michelle and a point to Carl because you were both pretty close
yeah.
on that.
I'm just gonna leave now.
I just remember like my best friend's like mother going, "Oh, look at this! This is caffeinated. You know, we're gonna sleep better at night." And I remember how old I was at that time. I'm going, that was like some new thing. So I can't
Yeah.
speak for exactly when
I am-
Folgers did it, but I'm like, wow.
I'm Italian. We didn't even have regular coffee in the house. I mean, it was always espresso. I think I started drinking an espresso probably with the breast milk. But yeah, like we didn't have
Don't do
we didn't
coffee.
have that
Just
kind of
cappuccino,
coffee.
lattes.
That's
Yeah,
what
for me,
espresso.
it's got to have caffeine in it. There's no point. It's like drinking non-alcoholic beer. I mean, what's the point?
right. And which, if every wrong answer I had to take a sip, I would have appreciated non-alcoholic beer right now. Because I would have been under the table with this one. Okay.
Okay, let's have another bash then, shall we? Right.
Right.
Mr. Folger, who started the original company or took over the original company, before he was actually working in the coffee industry, what was his occupation?
I was hoping you could tell us.
Anybody want to have?
We're gonna lose Folgers. Oh my God.
Yes, and in Hamilton, you're gonna have to start
You're gonna have
sponsoring
to
us after that.
sponsor us. Yes.
Yeah,
Come on.
it'll be your fault. To read
Sponsored by Hamilton and Carl.
That's right.
Close relics.
Do you want to have
Since
a
they
guess?
lost us our
This is
sponsor.
good because I can explain it. Come on, ladies, guess. Mr. Folger, what was his job?
I'm gonna say he was a door-to-door salesman of some type.
Michelle?
No, I know I'm wrong. It's like, here, let me drink.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'll say he was going out into the jungle looking for specimens of butterflies.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, that's a no pointer for anybody. Mr. Folger was actually a carpenter and he was employed to come and build the first coffee mill in San Francisco that he ended up owning.
I think Folger's going to start
That's it.
sponsoring the relic hunters.
Yeah, I think Hamilton's pitching for a job here.
You think?
I think so, because since
I'm
Hamilton's
sure.
the only one who's been made privy to the question.
Yes,
Well,
yeah. I
Well,
mean, talk about
you know,
niche.
Well,
Talk
you're
about
never
niche
made
quiz
privy.
question.
You're never made privy to a question in a pub for a quiz. It just comes up. They're
I mean,
made up that day.
this is not general knowledge, is it? This is like
We
Thank
give
you.
our guests the opportunity to give us the things
We
they'd like
don't
to
make
address.
we don't make our guests look silly. Just saying.
No.
oh,
Especially with their
God,
own sponsors. Thank you.
I put a lot of effort into this. I
I'm
thought
sure
this
you
was gonna work
did,
well.
and we love you for it.
God.
Yeah.
Shall we just do one more then and then give it up? You'll get this
Yes.
one because it's current.
Well,
You'll
on
get
this
it.
one.
Okay.
Because we're dumb as nails when it comes to this.
Right.
one.
Honestly, you'll get this one. You must know this because it was on the internet, right? October, which is only last month. Yep. It's current. We're not talking Victorian period.
That we'd
What?
have a better chance.
Oh, God. Okay. What was sold for $90,500, which is a piece of Folger's history?
the first decaffeinated coffee can.
Mm,
I'm gonna go with
The 1850 blend. I don't know.
I'm gonna go
Coffee.
with
We
the
even get on
roaster.
to read the news. I have an
Has to be
extremely
the
busy
first.
life.
Has to be one of the first packages.
sorry. No. You know the jingle,
Yes.
the best part of waking up, which is the
Yeah.
Folger's jingle.
The jingle. I was like the jingle. Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
one before that.
The word. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll put that down to Michelle actually, because that's pretty close. The actual rights for perpetuity for the royalties from Folger's jingle were sold for $90,500.
Wow, you think it would actually be
Yeah.
worth more than that
Are
because
the
it's been around for so long.
I don't remember quizzes in pubs being this difficult, especially when you're tad inebriated.
I didn't really think they talk about coffee in pubs.
No, I highly doubt that. It's usually pop culture and
How
history.
about what's your favorite beer, Michelle? Well, that's easy, Hamilton. That would be Stella Artois.
Yeah. How about yours, Amelia? That's easy. I hate the smell of it, but I will drink champagne.
I only drink imported.
Me too.
There we go. How about that?
How easy that was.
Well,
I'll even go for the Veuve. You don't have to go to the Dom Perignon. Don't worry. Cheap date, one glass, and I'm through.
I put a lot of effort into this.
You
know? I
did
thought
really
this was
well.
relevant.
You did
Had I
good.
known
You
and
did
I had
good.
time to study for the exam,
I know.
I may have stood a
Sometimes you
chance.
have to let the students know. I'm quizzing you on this. Make sure you're versed in
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what your education system's like in England, but yeah, they give us
Okay.
a heads up.
Most embarrassing interview you've ever done, Michelle?
That's daily.
I think
for
it's
me.
just happened, actually.
Oh. We love you, Folgers. No one loves you more than Michelle and I.
This
even
is very true.
those
See,
questions.
every
They're not drinking you,
show
Folgers,
night.
but we are.
guys.
That's okay. That's great promo. I love
It
it.
is.
Yeah.
It's great promo.
Okay, your
The
most
people they
embarrassing
sponsor
moment. I
have
don't think Michelle
absolutely
has
no
any.
idea.
I don't think she has any.
What?
He just asked you a
Oh,
question.
Oh,
Carl
I
just-
didn't hear it.
Yeah, any more, Hamilton? Any more questions on?
No, but you
I've
just
got-
asked her most embarrassing moment. You asked for
Yeah,
both of us.
My
trying to get
most
it.
embarrassing moment.
On an
Oh, that goes
interview.
back to high school days.
Oh, in life?
In life? No.
No,
Can I make
no.
it my last life?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah, right. My last 10.
Again, I don't know. Like I really, I was like one of the popular, kids in school in high school. But I don't ever recall doing anything really silly to embarrass myself. Probably, I did go to a afternoon party one time, and that was this after school because we're during exams. So, you only have an exam during the day, and then you can do whatever you want after that. And my exam was later in the afternoon. I went before the exam, and just, oh yeah. Can I tell you how the exam went? And the teacher's trying to reason with me, and I'm like, what?
That's it.
That's before I had the high tolerance for alcohol that I
You
now
have
have.
halos coming off
I'll
your
leave it
aura
right there.
now. Wow.
I think that would probably be it.
So most embarrassing, not most dangerous, because mine is kind of combined with the two.
go on then, give us that.
Oh boy. Okay. Growing up with 3 brothers, there's a lot of cars in the driveway. And a lot of races, street races at night that shouldn't be happening, especially with an underage girl who doesn't have a driver's license but took the car anyways. So
That's good.
yeah, not when the cop, the good part was the cop was my brother's friend. The second part was I got a ride from my other brother's friend who drives for a towing company and got the car home. And my mother never found out, although you do know now, Mom.
I was driving at 14. I didn't officially, I
Yeah,
couldn't
but
officially call it taking the car.
I drag
I was
raced on
offered
the
the
street
car.
at 2:30 in the morning and I wasn't of legal age. We'll go with that one. I probably still do shit like that, but now I'm legal age. I have a lead foot and a lot of police officer friends. Yeah. No, I think most embarrassing broke my heart, and I'll never forget this because I went up to somebody that I know and I said, I didn't realize you're pregnant. When are you due? That was the most embarrassing for me. I was very humiliated, and it was at a backyard party. So everybody heard. But I still feel bad to this day for that one.
What about you, Hamilton? Have you had any really embarrassing moments that you want to tell us about?
When I was first on the road, like, I don't know, 17, 18, and in those days you were just driving whatever you could drive. Like most of my mates, they'd all got speeding tickets because they got like souped up sort of things with hot exhaust pipes on. And at that point, I couldn't afford anything. And I was the only person who hadn't got a speeding ticket. And however hard I tried, I couldn't get a speeding ticket. And I once got pulled up and I thought, fantastic, brilliant, brilliant. This was driving like really late at night through Worcester. And I thought, I've cracked it, I'm going to get a speeding ticket and I won't be embarrassed anymore. And the copper kind of knocked on the window and looked at me and said, oh, Christ, it's you again. I've seen you before. Why don't you sod off, you pathetic little failure? And I really wanted a speeding ticket and I couldn't get one.
Oh my God. You can have a few of mine. They're in the glove compartment.
Yeah, I mean, that it's kind of got worse since then. I mean, I could go on and on about my failures in life, but that was like a 17-year-old where you were so embarrassed that you couldn't even get a speeding ticket. That was pretty pitiful, I have to say.
My mother would have gladly traded me for you.
Oh my gosh.
She was just like, I could have sworn I had a girl, but this one's like a fourth boy here. I got into more trouble than my brothers. They were such nerds. Wow. Yeah.
I was the black sheep. I think I ruined it for my sisters. I actually remember going to a club and it was my 21st birthday. And yeah, you know, all bets are off, mix everything. And somehow I got home. Yes, don't do that ever, kids. Don't ever drive. Don't ever do it.
We have to put those captions on the
always said,
record.
My car just knows its way home. So anyway, somewhere along the lines, I think I may have expelled some of what I had ingested. And I got home and next morning, the sun was out, just baking on the car, this really nice little sports car, like, leather interior. God. So my father, who never asks to borrow my car, says, I need to borrow your car. I need to go grab something. I'm doing an oil change on the truck. And I went, yeah. And I went, my eyes popped open like, no. He opened the doors and went, oh my God. I'm like, oh. That was bad.
Yeah.
I was bad. So never lived that one down.
Did he rat on you or did he protect you?
He just looked at me and said,
but he didn't tell your mom, right?
Oh, he didn't. I was 18. They weren't going to tell me one way or another. Okay, again, kids don't drink underage.
Yeah, I don't drink for many reasons.
Well, I was 21 at that point. What am I talking about? But I had been, partying it up a little bit since way before that.
I was always, I'm asking because I was always daddy's little girl, being the only girl, but I was always daddy's little girl. So anything I ever did, he always lied about. Like, always. He was so good to me.
You got to get out of jail free card for every
for life. And I think he's still doing it from the other side. I remember I was in a band, not a rock band, an Italian band. I was singing for them and my dad, the person who ran the band, used to work for my father. So it was all very, very good. But I had a little bit too much to drink because I was waiting. So the shots of cognac kept going. And got home really, really late because of a snowstorm. And I tumbled down the stairs and my mother comes to the staircase and I'm in the basement and my father is cleaning up after me. And she's like, what's going on? He goes, she's got the flu. They took so long to get her home because she kept throwing up all the way home. It wasn't the flu, but he was really good. He didn't want her. My father didn't believe in spanking or, yelling at children. He never did any of that. But my mother was a screamer and she had a pitch that would make Joe DiMaggio fall on his face. So
kind of like my Chihuahua.
Yeah, no, a pitch meaning like she could whip a slipper from the other side of the house and hit me in the head. No, not that ear piercing. No, she was very, very old fashioned, but he was always there to save the day. Always.
Right. Next.
Actually, I just thought of another one that I don't know if it's embarrassing or something that you're quite proud of in a kind of weird way. Is going back to school, in the last year at school, in my year, there was I don't know what you call them now in these politically correct world, but there was a kid who was a spastic who had to walk on two sticks, who was really sort of doddery. And we used to have competitions at break time as to how quickly could you eat an entire bag of crisps, which, you know, I was a very active participant in that. And I remember, like we were having one of our sort of competitions, and I pretty much shoved an entire bag of crisps into my mouth in one handful and was trying to munch it. And at the time, I got a very bad cold. And halfway munching through these crisps, I knew I was going to sneeze. So it was like, I'm going to sneeze, I'm going to sneeze. So I turned through like 180 degrees. And what I didn't notice until too late is the spastic kid was behind me. And I sneezed so hard that not only did I blow the spastic kid over, but I sprayed him with an entire mouthful of munched up crisps.
Nice.
Oh
The
my
line of
God,
fire
and
is
you
a
just
crisp.
told
That would have
4
been
million people
detrimental.
that.
Yep, sorry about that.
I was innocent. I never did anything
No, I didn't really do
in school to
ever.
no.
Yeah, I've
I
never
was
been
like
that
Michelle.
unlucky.
I was like Michelle. I was in that popular crowd and trend-setting crowd, not by choice. It just happened. No, I think it's a boy
You govern
thing.
yourself accordingly when you have a bit of a hierarchy.
Boy
I don't think
thing.
I've ever been that unlucky.
All right, well, let's change the tone a bit. And what about what's the best thing that's ever happened to you in your life? You know, when something comes along and you go, this is absolutely exceptional, I feel fantastic. You know, what's been the biggest thing that's made you feel the greatest?
Not including children.
I say my children
yeah,
are the greatest.
Not
Yeah.
children or your family, because we all love them, but, you know, something that's just really lifted you up. That's maybe your job or getting a present or
Mine's
going somewhere,
easy.
seeing something that you haven't seen before.
Mine is easy. Meeting Michelle.
Aw.
The fact that happened because I remember watching her. I remember watching her on television and saying, and she knows this story, I am definitely going to meet this woman. Like this is going to happen. I knew that connection, being gifted, and I just knew. Then when I found out she didn't live far from me, literally a stone's throw away at the time, I was like, this is really going to happen. And then fast forward, like almost 20 years later.
Wow.
That's really a long time.
That's pretty cool.
And up
I've been
comes,
filming a long time.
up comes, well, it wasn't 20 years, but it was really damn close to 20 years. Up comes this
I've been filming for
Central
that long.
Ontario Animal Rescue
Mhm.
Auction. Great
Because I'm an animal
reason
advocate.
to
I am.
contribute, right? Because they're rescuing animals. And what's the grand prize? But I'm gonna put this the right way because it's gonna come over. A night with Michelle.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
And she paid for it too.
Damn straight I did. Cut everybody off at the knees. I'm really good at auctions. That's a hidden talent I have.
Me too.
I'm
Look
really
at my
good at auctions.
house.
I will wait till the last 30 seconds and cut everybody off at the knees. This
should do
time,
that.
I wanted to meet her so bad that I went high, making sure nobody could come close because it was for a good cause, right? It was
For the
going to charity.
animals.
So
Yeah.
you can't lose on that one.
Yeah.
So I just went to the extreme and said, if anyone comes near this, I'm going to go higher. I don't care. I'm getting this night. So yeah, I'd have to say
And what
that
a night it
that
was.
day, my God, it was
Brilliant.
amazing. It was like we always knew each other. It was really bizarre. And I'm just gonna just repeat what Michelle said earlier, how she doesn't let anyone enter her home. Guess who went to her home that night?
No idea.
Me.
Oh, cool. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
been there since.
true.
I'm
Yeah.
in the next room. You just don't know.
I often wondered that actually, because you could easily do that and pretend you're in a different, You could be in the same room, just with different
No, my
lights.
background would look a lot like hers if I was even in the next
The
room.
whole house is like this. Yeah, it's not
The
just one
entire
room.
house is that way. It's an old Victorian. Well, Michelle
You
can
need
tell you about it.
It's a
Have you got
Gothic
one of those big
revival
church
manor.
organs, Michelle? Have you got like a big Gothic church organ? Because
I have lots of Gothic big ass thrones in this house.
She has a beautiful Steinway right next to her on her
Really?
side right now.
Oh, the what? Sorry.
You have the
Oh, the piano. It's a square grand Steinway. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's
Okay.
1854, I think. For
Yeah.
us, that's old. On this side of the world. Yeah, it's a
and
beautiful
she's sitting
piece.
on a throne.
No, it's just my office chair.
Yeah. Like
But,
I said, she's sitting on a throne. There she's got the chainmail behind her.
mm,
Oh no, there's a lot of stuff in there. It's a
There's- the
beautiful.
whole house
you
is like
guys
this,
would
though.
you guys would love her house.
it's
Definitely.
really,
Love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's you know,
You've
it's
got-
big
you've got the
house, but
feathered
small
wings.
rooms, you know, so the
Yeah.
old houses, they did all the rooms small, but yet that's like lots of space. It's just, you can't get,
Do you
but
still-
I
do you
like big
buy stuff? Do you
pieces.
still look out for stuff, Michelle, like more furniture, or have you kind of filled every crevice up now?
No, I actually have sold a lot.
Have you?
Ask her how many
Because
storage rooms
I
she
came
has.
from a fair sized, you know, house about 40 minutes north of here, and I'd already filled this house because I filmed in it. So this pretty much had, you know, all of my favorite stuff for the most part. But I came in, I love very big old carved pieces. And every now and then I'll show some pieces that I have. You know, people like to see it because I don't like to show the interior of the house. Mind you, you know, a lot of shows have filmed here. So if you really watch for some of the stuff that I've done, you'll actually see tidbits of the house. But I don't know. I always say certain pieces call out to me. I've got a 10-piece dining set that's got big demonic, you know, heads that come out of the arms, and it's got, you know, then it's got a lot of pagan motif on it. I couldn't really resist it, but I don't need a 10-piece. So it's things like that, you know, and I often will just change my dining room tables around, and I've got all kinds of different really old carved chairs. And
Your
you know,
bed.
I just bought out this Oddfellows Lodge, which is very similar to the Masons. And I actually wanted just the thrones because they were all hand carved by prisoners at one of the large penitentiaries here that have since closed down and it's only open for tours now. But it was a rehabilitation program that they had, and they've carved, I've seen other chairs, you know, that belong to these secret organizations, but it was an all or nothing thing for me. So I walked out of there with 3, 4, I don't know, 14 chairs. And I mean big. The one chair that's in my my master bedroom is probably about 8 feet high. The back on it, it's just unbelievable, just the detail, and it's like phenomenal. But then I also ended up stuck with 10 250-pound sofas that has all, they're oak, they're all carved. It was all or nothing. I'm just thinking, I just smacking myself. I wanted the chairs so bad I had to take the sofas, but they had sold the building, like, we want everything out and you have to take them. But they're massive. They're like 8 feet long, and they're about 250 pounds with the original horsehair and straw. And
gorgeous.
the leather on it was just beautiful. You know, everything was done
They're-
right at the prison, right
they're
down to just the
perfect.
trees came in, they just planed the wood, they did everything there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I often find myself being a caretaker of
Yeah.
things that eventually 5 storage units later, I'm looking
I
like
know the
Hamilton
feeling.
shed.
Yeah,
So,
I know exactly how you feel. I think
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And if
Cool.
you go into Michelle's when you visit, I find myself saying, oh my gosh, I love this couch. This is saying, don't get attached to it, bubbly. It's going out the door next week. I'm like, what? So she'll pick it up and make sure the right person.
some
Gets it.
pieces belong with me, others, but you know, you brought all your stuff, Carl, back from south of France too, right? You couldn't
Yeah.
leave it. You can't leave it.
I've got a unit, or a shed as I call it, with all the furniture from the house I had in Bordeaux,
Mm.
Well, I did have all the furniture from my apartment in Monaco. Then I had all my furniture from the house that was turned into a cannabis factory in England.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I had furniture from a rental property. Then I had all my motorbikes in it and all my cars. And I keep adding to it, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, as you're getting older, you're thinking, blooming heck, it's actually a burden having too many possessions. I like
Well,
the idea.
it does, because who gets stuck having to take care of it all afterwards is
know.
what I keep thinking. I keep purging, but it's almost like the universe knows, look, she has room.
Yeah, they're like handbags. Don't they?
Yeah. But in all fairness, Bubbly, I did offer you
That's
one
like
of
my
those big
shoes.
8-foot couches.
Yes, she did. I don't have anywhere to put it.
10 of
I
them.
don't have anywhere to put it. And it doesn't look like, it looks like something that needs to be in a boys club or a pub, you know.
Well,
they're-
it's got
they're-
all the insignia on it,
yes,
you know, so
yes,
it's
but
very,
it doesn't have the big fat cushions I like to sleep on
you
in front
could
of the
add
TV.
them. Now, I love really old carved pieces.
It's
I'm
perfect for a
very,
sitting room.
it's just, I'm not much into poofy, big puff things.
I
can't-
am.
I know,
I
I
like to
can't.
go in them and just sink. So,
Yeah, no,
but I
I
do
just-
love it for, I think if I had another room, I would put it as a seat. I would definitely be able to furnish it if I had the space for it, but I don't. I know I have a large living room, but
I had to do the whole house.
I need squishy couches for that room because I like to sleep there.
I even have panels from 1830, the 1836.
Yeah.
They're hearse panels from an old carriage hearse. They were in the same family for 150 years. Like a funeral hearse, funeral carriage
Yeah.
that would have been
Yeah.
used with horses, and they somehow modified it. It was in their family, and then the day the carriage came and went, and they modified it with this old like 1910 truck, and they modified and put wheel wells in and around it, and they kept it until they were no longer a funeral home, because you know, back then it was like every town had one. You had your undertaker, and so it stayed in the same family for that long. And about 3 years ago, because I always say things find me, and this thing, and you know, somebody sent it to me, and I messaged him, and he goes, "Oh, look, you can make a headboard out of this." Some of the most beautiful carved artwork, and I just went. So I messaged a guy. I'm like, you cannot separate this. It would just be sacrilege. So he's like, I need to talk to you on the phone. One of those conversations. Okay, I want to be one of those sales. So I did call him, and he goes, "What do you want to do with it?" And I said, well, at the time I had a very large antique funeral collection, and I still have the church collection, but I got rid of, you know, a majority of the funeral collection because it was just really old stuff that, again, you know, it's not for everybody. But these pieces are so rare that I've held on to them. So as soon as he knew that I would maybe eventually restore them and put them on a truck, that he was just sort of like, wow. He goes, okay, I'm going to give you a screaming deal. Come and get them. And they were upstairs in a barn, which actually used to be the stable for the horse that they had. And they used to keep the carriage in there. And they all had to come out. They're huge. And they all had to come out the top hayloft and had to be cranked down. It was just craziness, but that's my crazy life. I love it.
Have you ever sold anything that you regret now? Because you sound like you buy stuff and you sell stuff.
I do. I always say things find me, and for that time being, you know, as Hamilton will know, and I'm not going to get into that, but sometimes things make their way to me, and I know I'm only supposed to have it for a while. I'm not meant to keep it. It has nothing to do with me. But if I don't take it, much like the Odd Fellows Lodge, they said, if you don't take it, if you don't buy it, eventually it's going to go to the fire, because it's not going just anywhere.
That's terrible.
It's true, right? So
Yeah,
so in order
definitely.
sometimes to save a piece, or it just comes to me for a little while. And I always say it will end up with the right people. Those people will find me, or I will just, you know, connections will be made. and then it's the next leg, you know,
Well, it's like I mean, nothing's permanent, is it, in life? You know, we go back to dust and possessions.
Mhm.
Everything goes back to molecules at the end of the day. So
Attachments are not good for you.
yeah,
Mm.
you're a
Yeah,
caretaker
that's
of
true.
best thing that comes out of possessions is the emotions and the good feelings you get
Yes.
from whilst you're custodian of it, and then hopefully before it degrades into dust, somebody else gets it and gets some joy out of it.
It's just passing it on, right? It's you're a caretaker for a little while. For me, I always felt like the whole, you know, my current surroundings, I think it's just pieces that find me, they take me back, not only because of my lineage, because I do have a Templar lineage. I always say I've got like a you know, medieval past lives. I'm pretty sure a couple of times. I'm sure I didn't get it. Just back at that, fix it. But it just somehow gives me comfort to have it around me. It's just, you know, not quite having that understanding of why it makes me feel at home. I feel right in that surrounding. It's not
Yeah,
because
it's
it's a
like
thing, I
buildings.
like it. It's more than that.
Like when you go into a country home or an old building, you get a vibe of it.
Yes.
And it's almost like the building's absorbed the events that have occurred in that environment. And furniture shouldn't be any different. You know, they're absorbing all the events that happened
They
around them.
do.
And some items feel great and some items feel cold. And, you know,
Mm. I
it's
always
not
say,
surprised why some people resonate with a specific item and go, I love this, it feels right.
it's true. It feels right with your energy. I always say, and you guys probably know, I mean, we've all traveled, you know, have been fortunate to travel to many different parts of the world. And I always, you know, say, you know what, I left a piece of myself there, but I took a piece of it back with me. It's like you meld energies with certain places. It's like you never forget.
Yeah.
You never
Mm.
forget it because it
Yeah.
somehow becomes a part of you and you become a part of it somehow. And in time somewhere, there's going to be an imprint of your energy there.
Yeah,
And depending how
possibly,
much you love it, it will depend on the imprint.
and possibly that moment exists forever anyway. Every moment
Yes.
in the past might exist in some dimension, almost like a still of a photograph, because you look at a movie, it's just a composite of still images. Well, our moment in existence could be a composite of stills in
It
3
could be.
dimensions.
But it could be dimensional too. You could have several dimensions just in this one space that you're in.
Yeah, I spoke to a woman on that, you know, funnily enough. She's a professor, I think she's an astrophysicist. And I talked about this idea that you could have multiple, you know, like that sliding doors concept, that there's
Yes.
millions of you doing this. And she said, no,
Multiverses.
she said, I don't believe that. I said, why? She said, because if you believe in God, you don't believe in chaos, and God wouldn't create chaos even in the universe. He would create one consciousness for you and one dimension for you at any chosen time when you choose to exist in a specific avenue. And it made sense to me that
It
because
does.
if you just decide that, everything you can think is a possibility exists, well then there would be absolute chaos, because there'd be you couldn't nail anything down in logical
Well,
terms.
look at it this way. Let's just look at ghosts, for example. You know, we don't know what it's like when your essence leaves the physical. You don't know that some, not all, of the spirits that you encounter, is it, you know, as my producer Joe say, a dimensional bleed through? Are you just picking up something that's, you know, a dimension crossing through? And because some of the spirits I've encountered, they got the whole world going on, and it's like you're not even there. And it's just, and there's no rhyme or reason as to why they would be in that location. But it doesn't mean that they weren't there pre the current location.
But could it be like a 3-dimensional recording that you've somehow become a stylist to that recording, and you release the data that's been pre-recorded, and certain people have the ability to to release that date. You know, like some people go into an old or a house that's haunted because there's been tragic events. So they do, those events do imbibe or imbue the building. And some people feel it more strongly than others.
Well,
And
it
like,
imprints. Like
Yeah.
if you get into an argument with Hamilton, for example, you know, and you walk away and you come back into that same room like a few hours later, and you're going to wonder why you're feeling foul because that energy is trapped there.
Mm.
It's just it's
Yeah.
stagnant, and you're going to walk in, and we are made up of energy technically. So do we absorb it again? You
Yeah.
know, then Hamilton comes back in. You're just like it just continues because you have to cleanse that stuff out of there. You know, you
Mm.
have.
do you think Hamilton needs cleansing at this time? With this-
Definitely. 100%.
No, but-
yeah.
So I bet you some of the artifacts would leave their own impressions in their time and
Absolutely.
space, right?
Well,
So, in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, on the Tomar hold, some items have got no feeling about them at all. And some items, you know, they're very powerful and dynamic. You can feel things with them.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's not just that. You can handle, you know, hundreds, maybe thousands of ancient pieces. And every now and again, there's just something that leaps out at you that's lively for one reason or another, and you can't explain it. But there is something about it that is just like, whoa, what's going on with this thing here?
Yeah.
Definitely. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Nope.
noticed that even with some of the items I have, and they're nowhere near as old as what
Yeah.
you have, you know. I have a collection of human skulls. I turn down a lot, but the ones that come to me, one came as a haunted object, and one came to me because it was just very, very old, you know, probably about 600 years, no, 4 or 5, well, 600 years old. And it just calls out to you, but they all have their own energies, you know. I mean, I've got, you know, probably my oldest piece of furniture is probably about, you know, a couple hundred years old, maybe a bit older than that, but they seem to have, because they're hand carved wood, and you seem to be able to pick up on the energy of the person who took the time and the love to put it together. It's like
Okay.
stone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Have you had anything that's been a little bit too either full of energy or creepy that you just had to get rid of it?
And I keep it all. People give me their haunted items.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but you can actually bind an item, which means you can actually remove the energy from it. I don't particularly feel, I mean, unless the family has wanted to keep it, then you can remove the energy from it. Most times people just have the memory of it. They're like, no, I don't want it in case it happens again.
Okay.
But I've kept things. I had one of the skulls I have is called a phantom skull. And what that is it's encased in glass. And it would have been a specimen, like a human skull encased, like molded glass. And it came out of a university in Germany. Goes back to probably, you know, the late 1800s in and around there. And it used to cause a lot of havoc for the man I got it from. But this man had a huge Russian military collection. His brother had a huge German military collection. So right near this, he had a coat that came from one of Stalin's special police force with the black leather coats. And that thing was ridiculous. I said, you have problems to end in this house. Just take it out. He did. He took it to storage. And then, but the skull then started causing an issue. But he had this big helmet on it. I said, you know, I'm just going to be that guy, but I don't think it likes being covered up. So he took it off. And at that point, things calmed down. But he said, I just, my son visits, you know, because I just don't want it here. So he gave it to me, which was kind of my introduction into, I think I like skulls. So I ended up after that getting another 4, and then I got a skeleton, and 2 pieces that I got came from an elderly woman's collection out of England. She had something like 300 human skulls. I know. And this,
There's got to be a label for that. I'm sorry.
I know, it was crazy. This
There
one
has
came
to
to
be.
me via a friend, and he said, look, I've got this skull. It came out of the St. Elizabeth's flood of 1425 in and around that era. and it was submerged for 100 years, and it sat in this woman's collection for all of this time. I mean, it still had the silt and the mud in it. Like, it's just crazy. And but there's nothing, there's an energy with it, but there's no real attachment to it. So it just sits in the showcase. And the Phantom here, it never gave me a problem. It sat on my desk for the longest time. I'm like, okay, we're going to have a parlay and figure out what your problem is. He had a baseball cap on him. I do my work, and every now and then it would start to vibrate. And I'm just like, okay, so I just put him in a showcase, nothing on him. And there's like no issues at all. So any energy can be removed from anything. But if it's attached to it, not as a spirit, but just as an energy, it's just like, you don't always want to. I like spirits to go off because it's a matter of they can come back to a location. People don't understand, like, you don't have the right to send them off. Well, you know what? Why should a spirit have to sit here full of angst if you can send them over and they can come back without the angst? They can still come back just without all the
give them the
baggage.
opportunity.
I know.
The opportunity.
And when you explain that to them, they're like, okay, I'll try that. It's the same with any item. If they're that attached to it, most of the time they go over, they realize, why am I attached to this thing?
Yeah. I suppose there's positive and very negative energies, isn't there? There's dark energies and light energies that
for sure
exist.
Absolutely. Bad person and in life, you're not going to be a very good person in the afterlife.
No.
And when we were kids, this woman used to come around. She used to read tea leaves, in teacups. And she's in the house, and she said to Mum, "Oh," she said, "You've got some elephants in this house." My mum said, "What do you mean?" Oh, my mum said, "Oh yeah, I've got some carved elephants that I think my dad had got them at sea when he went to India or somewhere. And they're like black ebony elephants, 3 different sizes with tusks, ivory tusks." She said, "You've got to get rid of them because they're not doing you any good in the house." So we got rid of them, and it was really strange because as soon as we got rid of them, things started really going well for us in many different ways.
I have the opposite thing with elephants. They find me, and I've had fans send me hand-painted elephants. I have a rock hand-painted elephant. I have a carved elephant. I rode an elephant when I was 11. They had one in Toronto at the Canadian National Exhibition, and I wasn't going to go on it. And my brother said, unless you voyage over to Africa, what chance do you have of ever riding one? And I remember going up on that elephant and hugging its head. It was a baby, and saying, "I'm so sorry you're here." Like the compassion I had even at that age. I'm like, I'm so sorry they're doing this to you. I was crying. Like, I was so sad.
It's sad how the
I do love them. I do love them.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I years ago was in Thailand in Koh Samui, and I went on a little elephant safari in part of the jungle. But apparently, I mean, I've found out since, the training they undergo is very cruel, and they're tortured. So I wouldn't advocate it now. But you don't know when at the time.
It's a tourist thing too. People fall into it. When I was in Cookson, they had horses and carriages going around Leste, and my son and I were just kind of like, no, we're not going to do that. My son's like, why don't I just throw the horse on my back and carry it around? He goes, this is ridiculous. And I went, you're not wrong. I'm like, you're not wrong. It was
when we were kids, my dad was a merchant seaman, and I think it was kind of near the end of the era. But throughout my childhood, loads of sailors used to bring parrots home and monkeys and all exotic animals. They bring them up. The customs wouldn't even stop them. It was just normal practice. There was no sort of endangered species wildlife act to protect.
Everything is going on the endangered list now.
Right? Yeah, we used to go on holiday. We used to drive to Cornwall, and there's a famous pub on the moors, a moor called Bodmin Moor, and there's this pub called Jamaica Inn that Daphne du Maurier, the authoress, wrote a book called Jamaica Inn, and we used to stop there because it was on the top of this moor. It's always blustery with rain and fog and really moody looking pub. And the first time we went in, they didn't mind my dad bringing children into the pub, and it was a proper traveller's tavern. It had a macaw parrot sitting on a perch, not in a cage, just sitting next to the bar. It was this big, bright red and green parrot, and on the walls of this pub, it had all these old notes of currency that had gone translucent. And the reason it gone translucent was because of all the cigarette smoke and the oil
Wow.
getting inside them. And this
Mm.
pub was famous for a smuggler's pub. It was in the middle of the moor, but apparently the shipwreckers and anyone who was smuggling anything, they wouldn't trade the smuggled goods in the pubs on the coastline. They'd take a horse and carriage and ride up to the Jamaica Inn pub. And it was a magical place. I went back about 10 years ago, and it was a shame they'd expand it and kind of Disney-fied the place, you know, they closed the original bar down and built all this other stuff up around it, but it was a fantastic memory.
I know it's there's always those places that will just they just never leave you, no matter what, you know. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
have you got a place like that when you was a kid that you look back and think, wow, that was incredible?
Oh, every time I visit some place for me.
Yeah. What about you, Amelia?
Place that I find, I haven't been there yet in this life, but it is Scotland for me, and I haven't been there yet.
It's beautiful.
Scotland.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love it. I love Scotland.
Yeah.
I know. There's just every part of the world on an average has its own, it's unique and special in its own way. It all has something to offer.
Yeah.
You know, when I went to Egypt, I mean, they put the fear of God into me when I went there, because of course, at the time, I had long, almost white hair, you know, really suntanned. And the people from the chamber, their version of the Chamber of Commerce, grabbed me as soon as I got off the plane and said, "You cannot go roaming around Egypt. You just cannot." And it was frightening to me, you know, because I was like 24 years old. I'm going, why not? And she goes, "You will go missing. You will." And I'm like, wow, okay. So they asked me, you know, tell us everything you want to see. We'll make sure you see it. We need to know where you are at all times. I said, okay. And, you know, they got me a really beautiful hotel, and, you know, it's close to the Nile, which was very polluted. So it wasn't as exciting as that, I hope. I mean, you have to go really far south to really get away from that. I think I was in Cairo at the time. And I'll tell you, I saw everything I wanted to see. It was wondrous, just wondrous, you know. And I'll tell you a funny story after I tell you the scary part. My last day in Cairo, we were getting ready to get picked up to go back to the airport. And this big limousine showed up at the front. And this chic sort of guy came out of it. He was big man. And he had all these flowers. And he was waiting for me. As soon as I came down the stairs, he walked right over to me with these roses. My boyfriend at the time's going, I'm like, don't say a freaking word, just be gracious. You know, we're really far from home right now. And he said, okay. And he said, he gave me these flowers, and he had a bodyguard with him that was even bigger than him. This just massive man. And he said, you know, I'd like to invite you to stay with me. And I'm like, oh, no. You know, I have family waiting for me. It's just made him, you know, I really wanted them to realize, like, I have family waiting for me. Everybody knows where I am. And he said, if you ever want to come back, he said, you know, you can stay with me, because I will give you all kinds of money. He goes, you'll want for anything. I'm thinking, and I graciously thanked him. And I said, I'm not a very good sharer, but thank you. You know, not into the harem thing, but not a good sharer at all. And he kind of giggled a little bit, and he graciously backed away. But it scared me, because somebody at that hotel or at that chamber tipped him off that I was there. And,
They
and
pick
that,
you
that-
off at the airport. So that goes back into sex trafficking. They pick you off as you come off the airport.
Yeah.
They pay off your cab drivers to find out where you are, and they communicate. That's how
Yep.
people are taken.
either
I mean,
way,
that's that film, isn't it? Taken with Liam Neeson.
It's reality. I worked it for
Yeah.
8 years. It's reality.
is it-
It's exactly
but you
how
know,
it happened.
there was something on 60 Minutes after that, and there were women who were going on contract work to the Middle East, Egypt, the other Arab countries, and they were making like $100,000 to $150,000 a year being in a harem, and they were on a 4-year contract. Then they left. I saw him make that. I don't know if he was still
That's
listening.
really, really, really
It was on
not
60
much
Minutes.
money actually
saw it.
nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it like after, like probably a couple of months after that. I went, oh, that's interesting. But what I love the most about Egypt is when I went on this Nile cruise. This is where I developed the taste for my favorite beer. I don't drink beer often, but I do like beer, especially when I do travel, because I prefer it right out of a bottle, no ice, crazy, water situations that can upset your tummy. So I will drink beer more.
Huh.
And I asked for a Stella Artois because it was the only beer they had in Egypt, because they're Muslim. They don't drink. You don't, unless you're at a hotel or an event of that sort, you just can't go to a bar and get one. So I ordered one, I drank it, and they said, would you like another one? I said, yes, please. So they brought me another one, and it was a bigger bottle. I'm going, all right, thank you. I drank that. And at the end of it, for round number 3, would you like one more? I went, what's one more? It was the size of a dang wine bottle. I'm like, God, the gods are smiling upon me. I can't freaking believe it just keeps getting
They
bigger.
get bigger. What the hell, man?
I know. At the end of the night, I'm like, oh my God, I love
You
this
would have
place.
lost me on the first bottle.
Well, we didn't have it in Canada. It took something like 8 years before we got any in Canada from that point.
See, and the funny thing is the Portuguese community here loves Stella Artois. They
That's
love
not
it.
good love.
They
I
love it. It's at every one. I have a lot of friends that are Portuguese, and it's always at their house.
I like to try different ones from the different countries I go to, because a lot of
Don't
them
drink-
brew their own.
Don't drink the Peroni in Italy. Whatever you do, don't
No.
drink the Peroni.
And
in
Romania
that
has some
city.
of the best beer I've ever tried.
Yeah, the UK, Italian beers are very popular at the moment. Peroni's been big for about 15 years.
Yeah.
They got one called Peretti now and Moretti. And
Moretti.
But I just drink English beer, don't really do lot.
I did drink a lot of beer in Mexico. I will not lie, because I do like Corona with lime, but to me, that's not really beer. It doesn't taste like beer. It's different. And that went down very easily in Mexico, especially on the beach.
Okay.
Yeah, that I can drink, but I'm one of those. My travels are mostly Caribbean islands. They're not fancy like the 3 of you. I like the beaches. I'm the lazy person. And I will drink whatever is on that island. If they're making rum, I'm drinking rum. At the time, tequila and I will never see eye to eye again, or bottle to eye ever
Okay.
again. That was one hell of a 3-day hangover I don't ever want to experience again.
I don't get drunk.
It's been years,
don't
and
like to
it
get
was the
drunk.
only time I got drunk. I mean, I get tipsy and very friendly, which is why I don't drink. But I'll drink anything that's going on in the islands. If they're making rum, like I said, at the time I was drinking tequila, whatever they're making. If I was in Greece, I'd be drinking ouzo. When I was in Calabria, I was
I love
drinking.
ouzo.
I was drinking. Well, it's very similar to
Yes, I do.
Sambuca. And I love, I remember being in Punta Cana, and the big drink at that resort was amaretto, which was really hard to swallow, but I drank it. It's like
You
whatever
managed
it
it. Well
is, I
done.
want to
Okay.
mix in, and I want to live the culture as much as I can
I can't do
through
that from a
food
beach.
and alcohol as
I
well.
just can't.
I can do
I
that
can't.
from a
My
beach.
friends are all on the beach in Greece. I'm just sitting there going.
But
So
see,
I
you're
went
going
wandering
to
off, ended up in an
places-
excavation somewhere, and
Yeah.
they let me help. I was there for like 8 hours, full of mud and dirt, with a little toothbrush
Yeah,
and a
that's
pick.
not
I was
me.
so happy.
I'm the little girl with the sun hat.
Oh,
But I
yeah,
will.
no.
I will do the.
Can't do
but
it.
I'm
I
not
have to be
talking about
productive.
when I was in Italy. I was not a beach person. I was a beach person part of the day, and then I was
Oh,
out investigating and searching
it's
and
too
looking
much.
at
I want to
history.
explore the history.
But
culture.
you're not gonna find that in the Caribbean. You're talking about
Caribbean's got great culture.
they don't have a lot.
Oh, look, the
You're not
pirates.
allowed
Arr.
to. You're not allowed to tour the way you do in Europe. It's completely different, whole different experience when you're in the Caribbean. I go to Italy and I go and I look and I see things. I go to the Caribbean. The only thing I want to see is my butler in my cabana. Those are those few days. And I'm not going to lie, because I am very prissy that way. I do get a butler. I do get the high service, but I'm only there for 3 to 4 days. And I want to enjoy that, be able to breathe. Being the strong empath that I am, the work that we do, the work I do with missing kids, I need a disconnect, and I want to make sure my phone doesn't work on the beach. That's me for when I go to.
Yeah.
Everybody disconnects in
sense.
different ways.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Well,
I will, if I'm going to Europe, like when I do go to Scotland, I want to tour Scotland. I'm not going to sit. First of all, I don't think there's a beach I'd sit on in Scotland, but
Not in Scotland, no.
no, but then I'd be
Long
going
drop.
there. I'd be going there just for that,
Mm.
If I went back to Italy, I'd maybe hit the beaches once or twice, because right now my purpose of going back to Italy is my father's history in Pisa. It's got nothing to do with me, wanting to see anything else. I want to sit there and I want to be there in person, because online and over the phone, I'm not getting anywhere. So I need to make that trip. But when you go to the Caribbean, it is so dangerous to leave a resort. It's highly dangerous. I was in Barbados and I was in a very exclusive resort, and 10 feet in front of me, they were selling drugs, because Barbados does not own the beaches. They're public. So you really have to know where you're going. You have to be careful. I mean, I had a security guard at my cabana. Like, that is ridiculous. I'm not a Kardashian. I remember Bobby, I was messaging him because there was a missing persons, and they actually called me while I was in Barbados. I know. So I remember him saying, "You're not a Kardashian. Why do you have
You
security?"
can
I
jump
said,
right back
because
to it.
yeah. Well, I'm just gonna finish it because it's finished. But they jump in your cabana with you when you're by yourself.
That's hard.
So when they see a woman alone, they do come in, they sit down, they talk to you. So they posted security at my cabana for the 3 days I was on the beach. It was ridiculous. But, like I said, I got the rays in the water, so I'm good. But anyways, I would love to say that you are tuned into the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano, but you're not. You're tuned into the Relic Hunters with Hamilton White
Outer
and Paul
realm with the
Cookson.
relic hunter. That's right.
Yeah, you're not really tuned into, because the tables have turned, and it's afternoon here, as you can see, and it's evening for them. They really got it easy this time. Us, not so much. Just
we
me.
like it.
We are pre-recorded. Yeah, the light is killing me. We are pre-recording this interview, as you can see by the light in Michelle's home and mine. Lack of there, because that's normal anyways. But it is airing on 105.3 FM in New Orleans. We are United Public Radio, I hope still, and International Public Radio. Our intro, our outro is the Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, Justin Snicker, award-winning composer. That's his voice you're hearing. His music is amazing. Find him on Bandcamp and on Amazon. And you can find him also on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and you can purchase his music right there. And it's not just for Halloween. He does a lot of work in the industry. Also tonight and every night, and Folgers, I'm apologizing right now for earlier. Hamilton White had it the best, and he
Their
might
fault.
be your new
It's
person
all
to sponsor
their
you.
fault.
But we love
That's
you,
right.
Folgers. Thank you for sponsoring
Me
us all the
too.
time, even though we didn't know what that first thing was that sold. Sorry, but we love you.
Hey, Abigail Folgers, I know that.
Abigail, I remembered it after you said it, because I profiled him, not so much as victims.
All right. So we are back
Okay.
with half an hour. So
We have.
shoot.
Okay. Going back onto the Folgers thing, which isn't a quiz, because I know you already know the answers to this. Can you confirm for me, back in 1850, Folgers started off being called the Pioneer Steam Coffee and Mill Company?
I did not know that.
You did? No, Michelle, I'm trying to give you a break here. Okay, let's try this one again. Going back to 1850, as I'm sure you both know, Folgers was
1850.
called the
Yes.
Pioneer Steam and Coffee Spice Mill Company, wasn't it?
Okay,
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
brilliant. Well done. Fantastic.
Absolutely. And you can even
Absolutely
buy
great.
1850 Keurig coffee.
You
from
could.
Folgers.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic.
But
Yeah,
Keurig
thank you.
doesn't sponsor us, so put it in anywhere.
right.
Yeah.
What about that coffee? The dearest coffee in the world. It's made by cats, civet cats eating coffee beans,
What?
and then
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not
they-
going there.
they eat the coffee beans and then they discharge them through the normal
Yeah,
system,
I don't like coffee that much.
and then they wash the beans up and grind them, and it's like the dearest coffee on the planet, and it's
That's why I drink. That's why I drink espresso. Italians don't let cats in.
no, it's a strange.
So you lost me there. Say that again.
It's the dearest coffee in the world, and what they do,
Right.
they feed these cats called civets. The cat
Yeah.
is a breed. I don't think they might be a wild cat, but the civets, and the
That is
cat
too much.
eats the coffee beans. It
And they
goes
expel them.
right through the system, comes out the other end, and then obviously they collect them, clean them up, roast them,
What?
and that's
Folgers
the
doesn't do that.
No,
most,
we love you,
that's the
Folgers.
most expensive coffee on the planet, but whether it's any good.
You get a great cup and it doesn't cost you an arm.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about
So
cats.
I have
It's
some
Folgers
really amazing news for you, Hamilton.
Yes, yes.
I was doing some research on protein bars because someone I love dearly has a health issue and was
Yep.
indulging. But anyways, this has nothing to do with your health. But
Protein bars. Yeah, okay.
can you hear me? I just
Yeah, I
lost
can hear
part
you.
of.
Yeah.
So I found out from a fitness expert, she was comparing a protein cookie to a McDonald's cheeseburger.
Yeah.
And the cheeseburger came out healthier in the end than the protein cookie.
Excellent.
Just letting you know.
Yep.
So she
Yep.
dropped the protein bar and set him off to eat my cheeseburger. I'm like,
Yep.
I'm gonna
Yep,
take that
like-
on the treadmill. Wow.
Yep.
Yes, less salt, less sugar, less carbs.
Mhm.
I can't.
The protein's
can't.
higher. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't
Right.
believe it. I was
Yeah.
just like, you're kidding me. The sodium content is lower because people make the mistake when they're eating protein bars or cookies, they're eating the entire package. The package clearly reads half a portion. So if you're not
Yep.
doing that properly, that's
It's the
what
same
happens.
with
I know
it's the same
you,
with
a lot of
vegan
people-
food, isn't it? You know,
what?
people
But
think
if I
vegan
can-
food is all healthy, but if you look at some of the ingredients, especially the vegan food that tries to copy meat, so you get like a vegan
That's
sausage.
a different thing. Pure
The
vegans
whole
will
the
not,
whole thing
pure
with them
vegans
is
won't
that
eat
they,
that stuff. But the
yeah,
real
I mean that
vegans
stuff's
will
got
not.
so much chemicals in it, and
Yeah.
you know they're not healthy just because they're classified as vegan.
Yeah.
Mhm, that's true.
No one is. No one is really. I
Just
have
good old
family.
natural eating.
Just eat cows; it's good for you.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Yep, definitely.
Beef is good; it's good, and veg is okay, you know. But
Veggies are okay.
Well,
I eat a lot
apparently
of raw
cheeseburgers are
veggies. I love
great.
veggies. So, all right.
Cheeseburgers
So
are
we're
good for you.
narrowing down. So next.
okay.
Okay.
So, what's your biggest your biggest regret in terms of what would you have loved to have ended up doing in your life for your career? Although you've done something amazingly successful with your show and all that, but if you could have done something else, what would it have been?
The first thing I ever wanted to do was be a record producer. I actually enrolled to
Oh.
go to college for it. When I was 14, I thought I wanted to be an oceanographer. And I studied every type of shark species, whale species. At that age, I knew all of them. This I just fell into, and it ended up being a career, and film just ended up being a part of it that I never sought out, and it just happened. And I guess my path was always to help people. So it didn't matter what I wanted to do. This is what I ended up doing.
So you're happy with your destination today?
I am. I absolutely am. Yeah, I can't complain really. I love radio, you know. In fact, I love doing radio so much because I've done a lot of it, you know, studio stuff,
Yeah.
and I've hosted before, and I just find now I prefer it and I know I'm probably going to just peeve off a lot of people. I prefer it to filming. Not that I won't film again, just be very, very a little bit more specific. I would work with
Why
past
do you prefer-
producers, but
What's the reason why you prefer it?
um, there's a lot of reasons actually. I mean, for
That's a
me,
whole
filming has
show.
always been about people being able to find me, who needed me. I've turned down my own series at least 4 times through the years. And I was asked to create a series. And I did give an idea for it. And the only reason I agreed to it was because it was very, very different. It was not like anything that was already out there. And amazingly, the UK picked it up right away. Canada picked it up. And when we, of course, the US, as you know, has to be on board. And the idea all of a sudden went missing. And I'm now seeing it on another existing.
Mm,
And I kind of went, oh, and
That's
even the
not good.
producer I worked with, who was a Netflix producer, kind of was like, oh, this is not good. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter. I kind of look at it as I wasn't meant to do it. I only
Yeah.
did it because it was unusual. But the
Mm.
fact that it's still out there and it is something that's being done that is unusual and it's not with one of the typical shows, I thought that's okay because it's still out there and people are still able to enjoy the concept. It just doesn't have my style to it. It's just more generic, unfortunately, but that's okay. That doesn't happen with radio because here I can say I do have creative control. We decide what we want to do. Television, as you guys know, you do not have creative control unless you are many series in. So we can look at this show and say yay or nay, and we can do it, we can apply it, and it's exactly what we intended to be.
Yeah, I
It's-
totally agree. Yeah, radio, when you're doing it like this, is good fun and you can be your normal selves. It doesn't matter
Until
if
you
you're,
guys come on.
yeah, obviously. But it's like you'd have the same chat now as we
Yeah.
were having if we were down the pub or something, just
It's
having
true.
a good laugh.
But that's
Whereas
also our
TV
style though,
That,
right?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
As
is
round
exactly
table.
Yeah.
what we wanted from
Yeah.
the beginning. It was always a panel
Yeah.
discussion. It was never because we both do interviews and we know what it's like to be drilled at.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable and it comes off very, very tense.
I've done
and
20
very
years of
tight.
that. And I
Yep.
wanted to
It's
make
just
sure this was structured differently.
Yep. Yep. TV can come across as just being contrived and artificial and just sort of stage managed, and it just doesn't feel right sometimes.
Well, look at how much sits on the cutting room floor. I don't know about
Yeah,
you guys, but
yeah,
I've
yeah.
filmed, I've spent a day filming something.
Mhm.
And in the end, you've got, you don't even get the full hour. You
Oh,
might
yeah.
get 40 minutes
yeah.
out of the hour. So how much of the real stuff that doesn't get seen, that only, every segment tells half of a story. And sometimes it's more embellished because it has to attract the viewers.
Yeah,
How
totally
much do
agree.
you lose?
Well, I know
90%
when
of it.
when we were filming, they told us the industry standard was that they would get six minutes out of each hour's filming.
Wow.
But with us, they were actually getting 14 minutes for out of the rush is what they could actually utilise because
Mhm.
sometimes you'll shoot something, a noise will come in from outside and they can't use that. But there's loads of reasons why they can't use every bit of it. So, and also they want to craft a nice product at the end of it. So they put sequences and sections together that are going to complement and enhance the before and after. And the editing side's an art in its own right anyway. So, the magic of, the positive thing is that it's fantastic what they can do, how they can put something together and create this wonderful, seamless,
It would just be
narrative.
nicer to have creative control because as a
Yeah.
producer put it to me,
Mhm.
and you guys I'm sure are going to relate to this, I've been fortunate, however, to work with some producers who basically say, look, you know what? I know how to produce, I know how to direct, I know nothing about what you do. And I've been giving a little bit more leeway because of that. I've had not just the production house, but I've had the people who supply the money and you know, who pay for everything and who syndicate everything, you know,
Yeah.
say no. When a show comes to them, they'll say, we'll fund it if you use her. So I've been used a few times. That sounds so wrong. I've been asked to film other productions because that, you know, they like me enough way at the top.
I think
That one's X-Files.
the thing is that when, you know, you have to accept if somebody's funding it and putting the money together, then they do have a right to craft it the way they want it. And if you want full creative control, ultimately you've got to get yourself in a position where, you know, you've got some financial involvement, and that then gives you the right to do that then. But you've still got to satisfy so many different sectors within the industry to be able to achieve that, you know.
But the thing is you guys know your industry. It's very hard, you know, to give that sort of creative control to somebody who doesn't really have an understanding. They go by what you're teaching them. When your producers and directors first came to you, you know, it's not like they say, okay, we know about this and this is how we want to do it.
No, I mean, it's when we done the first series, we didn't know how they were going to portray us or what it was going to, you know, what the whole flavour of the show was about. It was exciting to actually see how they crafted the finished product together. And then after we watched the first series, which incidentally was the same time when everybody else watched it, we didn't get like a pre-release copy or anything like that. It's only after you've watched the first series that we kind of got what we were as a brand and what the show was about. And to some degrees, Hamilton, you wasn't as happy as I was, but at the end of the day, it was still brilliant what they done. You know, it was a great job.
Yeah, it's really difficult. Like, I mean, I would pose the same question to you guys. I mean, are you doing what you want to be doing right now on your journey?
Yeah, well, do you mean in life in general? I'm very much into the belief system now. This whole thing where you talk about being in the moment and in the now, because the past has happened, it's done. You can't change it, and the future we've got aspirations and dreams of how we'd like to be, and to a small extent you can influence and craft the outcome, but really at the end of the day, it's, you know, you don't have much control about the future, but you've got control about how you feel at this very moment in time. And if your existence in the now is constantly being sad about the past and being anxious about the future, you're not going to enjoy now. So now is the most important time, you know, to reflect and be happy about just being alive. You know, to be alive is a fantastic thing, and to wake up in the morning. I mean, I live in the north of England, and we get a lot of grey skies and rain and drizzle, but it's still great because you've got seasons, and you know, there's always something good to look at, and you can have a great time. It doesn't always have to be a beach with palm trees, and you know, there's flavors. And
I love the UK. I do. Yeah, I love the pictures that you post. You know, I do, because it's just, especially, you know, going through what the world was going through, it's like people traveling seems to have just halted, you know, and I love seeing, I belong to a lot of groups that are just that, you know, different places and different history. And because I just love seeing the scenery because I miss it.
Yeah, I do. I was talking to a guy the other day, yesterday actually. He was working for this other company with me and Hamilton are doing some filming with Josh Gates shortly. And he was blown away. He was looking at locations and he was blown away by the abundance of antiquities within English architecture. And I said, yeah, it is incredible. I said, but I find going to the States or Canada is just as incredible, because you do things that we don't do. We've got antiquities, but you go to the moon and you develop all these fantastic commercial concepts and you're progressive with architecture. And he said, oh, I never really thought about it like that. You've actually made me a bit more proud of sort of appreciate more what he's actually got rather than looking to another country and going, oh, why haven't we got this? Each country's got their own fantastic, unique points that make it great, and that's why we all like to travel. But you travel, and at the end of the day, you're away for a while, and all of a sudden you think, oh, can't wait to get back home.
It's true.
To the place you whinge about and moan about all the time. At the end of the day, home's home, and it's got its little unique peculiarities that we miss and enjoy.
Home is where the heart is, right?
Yeah, and your memories really, where you've grew up, even your sad memories apart from part of the collective that gives you your identity of what home means. I'm not trying to be deep or nothing, but it's just we all experience it. But it is about now, it's not about the past or the future. It's all about now. If good things happen in the future, fantastic. But you can control now. You can control your emotion about now, and you can do that by not looking at the past and saying, I wish you can change things, because you can't change anything. It's done, it's gone. And you've had some great times in the past, and you've had some bad times, and the future holds many promises. But what you've got is today to appreciate and enjoy your existence as a human being.
That's true. I agree. That's a good way to look at it. It really is. How about you, Hamilton? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you can't change the past, be it anything to do with television or life in general, unfortunately. I mean, if you could, I think everybody would have made some alterations of what's gone on over the last 10, 20, 30 years, definitely, crikey. But no, I mean, we're now a little bit more educated on how things work, and we're trying to sort of move forward and regain a little bit of control. Like Carl said, I'm very, very unhappy with the misrepresentation and the manipulation of how not necessarily we, but particularly me, have been portrayed. And if I could wind the clock back, say again?
I think you're being hard on yourself and the people around you, because
not at all.
I think you've been treated good. I think it's been good for you what we've been through, and it's we've been very fortunate to have had that chance.
Well, we're going to disagree on that then.
No, I mean, I'd like to hear your side of it. It's definitely a good opportunity with respect to, it's like a double-edged sword. It's nice to have it out there. People know it's there. You're sharing with the world. You guys are gracious enough to share it with the world. Your discoveries, your collection. I think that's fantastic. But it also has its downside. And I'm guessing, Hamilton, that's where, what you're making reference to is, what would you like to have seen it, to see it be different? What about the experience?
I would have liked to have seen a proper history program being made where it actually focuses on the importance of the objects themselves, right, and the actual knowledge that both myself and Carl have of these pieces, because we are the only people who have handled them over the period of time that's been, where they've come to the surface. And if we'd have been allowed to actually talk about history and present what we know about these pieces, we could have been light years ahead, but we've been sidelined, and we were just simply not allowed to present our knowledge on screen. Simple as that.
I can agree with you on most of that, but I think what Michelle said before is you don't get creative control straight away when you're new in the job.
Not right away. No.
And you've got it's part of your pupillage and your apprenticeship. We're fortunate, very, very fortunate just to get a chance to get involved, and that's given us a roadmap now moving forward of what we can possibly achieve in the future, because we wouldn't have even understood these questions to formulate answers without getting a chance to done a first show. And the fact that, yeah, we didn't get the creativity that you might have wanted, and we didn't get to utilize or deploy the knowledge that we've got, you know, the chances are that we are going to get that opportunity in the future because of the opportunity that they gave us in the first instance.
Well, the
So
more
I-
seasons in you go, the more say you have.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then you'll be able from all this experience say, no, that's not the way it's going to run. This is the way we need it to happen. And that's what
Yeah.
you have to do, Hamilton. I know it's not easy, but I do see a future for you guys telling this story of all the pieces. I feel
We'd
like
love to,
it's just
Amelia.
a
We
stepping
really would.
stone for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd love
And
to.
I think you
Um,
should. I think it should be you. I think you deserve that, you know?
Yeah, totally. You know, we would love to do it. I mean, what we envisaged before the first season even started was more like a kind of reality show, which is me and Carl doing our stuff.
Yeah.
And that would be brilliant. The odd little sort of moments within the series where it's just me and Carl being ourselves, those are the magic things that absolutely everybody has really, really liked. And we've had
Exactly.
so much fun, me and Carl, actually, when we've been out filming. Oh God, the
Yeah,
great
there's-
laughs we've had. We've had some absolute magic, and 99% of it's ended up on the cutting room floor, replaced by absolute rubbish.
It happens all the
Lovely.
time. Do you know
Yeah.
I worked behind the scenes on a very, very famous murder of a young child, and I won't give information, but I worked 18 months on it behind the scenes, and I wasn't even mentioned in the end.
Sickening, isn't it?
So I understand that, and I understand how easily that happens, because people will, in that industry, people who are doing it for the wrong reasons will throw anyone under the bus. And I mean,
Yep.
18 months of 7
Yep.
days a week, hours upon end on this case,
Yep.
because it was so far in and it's been so cold for so long. I had to go backwards.
Mm.
And not even a mention, and not only that, but the credit was taken by someone else for my vision.
Yep.
It wasn't even
Mhm.
something that was in any of the files of evidence, because there was
Yep.
no evidence, because shit was cleaned up. Sorry. So anyway, it was really, I can understand the frustration, because it was really frustrating for me to watch this film, this docu-series for 3 nights, and see all of my visions on there
Yep.
with someone else, and the story coming out of someone else's mouth. Sometimes you just have to take that as, okay, I'm learning from this. What do I really want? And I looked at it as, you know what? Her story got out, and I'm okay with it. I had to be okay with it, because in the end, it came down to a little girl who was murdered.
Mm.
But I do understand that there's a reason why Zach Bagans owns his own company. And
Wait, who,
that's why
sorry?
Zach Bagans,
Oh, he's just, it's a paranormal TV show that's
paranormal
out
TV
there.
Oh, okay.
show.
It may
okay?
get to that point where maybe that's the way that you guys go, is
Yeah.
you just fund it yourself, and then it does exactly what it is you want it to do.
You look at his
Well, we'd love
history, and
to.
people can make fun of him all they want, but he's one of the smartest businessmen I know in this field. And I look back at where he started and where he is now. He has full control of every story he tells.
But I still think, you know, you've got to give credit to the people behind the shows we've done, because it was their risk. You know, they didn't know us from Adam, and at the end of the day, they've got constraints and demands that they've got to conform to craft a show that's commercially viable for them. And it might not be exactly what we wanted, but at the end of the day, you know, I think it was still a great success for us, and you know, it's created a channel where we can move in a direction that we wouldn't have been able to without it. So I'm grateful for
You're
it.
still telling stories. You're still
Yeah.
giving light. You're still bringing awareness. A lot of people didn't know. They only know what they've heard from other people's mouths about the Knights Templar. You gave it a whole other view, and you gave faces and stories, and each artifact tells a story, how many hours, what they did while they were traveling. You gave so much to the world. You really did.
And with that being said, unfortunately, with we are counting down, and this platform cuts you right off. So
Oh, are we going to be cut off? Are we? Just when it was
we're
getting
going to
interesting.
be, but you know what? You guys get to come back on in December, so we can pick right up where we
Yeah,
left
yeah,
off. And
yeah.
we'll do it the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
But give us, give us a heads up on what you're going to do to us. So
God.
what
I'm
I am
sweating
going to do
Folgers.
right now is I'm going to have to sign us off, basically.
Oh,
So we have,
boo.
I know, boo, it's that time
What a
already,
shame.
but we have.
Well, it's gone quick, hasn't it? It seems to have gone really fast this time.
It
And
did go really fast, and it always goes very
Always
fast because you
does.
guys are always a lot of fun.
But it's not
Um,
that fast for them because it's usually 3 o'clock in the morning.
This is
Yeah.
true. This is true. So again, thanks to everybody who did tune into or will be tuning into the show. And big thank you to Folgers. Big thank you to Dr. Snick, AKA Justin Snicker. Please remember to head on over to the YouTube channels. Tonight, we will be in chat on the Outer Realm only with respects to Facebook. So look for the show in the Outer Realm as it airs. We will be there in chat, and we will be on UFO Paranormal Radio on YouTube in chat. So we shall see some of you out there tonight. And until then, good night and thank you. And thanks to you guys.
Thank